All right, lesson 7.4. We are going to talk about equations, tables, and graphs, and being able to generate different representations from the same data. So I'm going to jump ahead quickly right now. So I have this table of data in example A. I want to be able to take this data here and write its equation. So we're going to go from table to equation. Now the root question is, what is happening to each x to produce the corresponding y? And if you think about it in these terms, x, those are the input values. If you were to think about this as like a machine, these values are the numbers going into the machine. The machine processes the numbers here in the middle, and the y values are the things that come out. So the question is what is happening to -2 to make 1? Now, if I just go directly, if I take -2 and I add 3 to it, I get 1. Now, does that pattern continue throughout the rest of the table? If I take -1 and add 3 to it, do I get 2? Well, yes, I do. If I take 0 and add 3 to it, do I get 3? Yes, I do. And you'll notice in this particular case, that works for all of the x values in the table. If I take the x and I add 3 to it, I get y. So when I write this little equation here, okay, what we're telling ourselves is, what do we do to x to get the y? And in this case, we take the x value, we add 3 to it, and that gives us our y. So y equals x plus 3. So what this allows us to do is, let's say we had x equaling 10. Well, that's telling me I take my x value of 10, I add 3 to it, and that would give me an output value of 13. So this equation here generates more values, because that's what an equation is. It's basically an ordered pair generator. These ordered pairs, -2, 1, -1, 2, and so on, could be graphed if we wanted to. Okay. Now that's just a simple table. Let's go ahead and go a little bit more complex. Now, actually, here, let me flip back here real quick. Notice this was going up by 1s. Okay. Here, going up by 2s. When that happens, you need to be cognizant of what is in between. Okay, so if I sort of fill in the values in between, those become important. Now, in this particular case, am I going up by 1s here, I also am going to probably have to go ahead and fill in the values. So this is going to be an 11, this is going to be a 9, this is going to be a 7, and so on. All right. So make sure that you are careful about what's going on in between. So okay, so let's try the same technique as I did on the previous one. What do I do to 0 to make 12? Well, that would be 0 plus 12 is 12. Now, does that work for the rest of them? Is 1 plus 12 11? Well, no. Okay, so the equation x plus 12 can't work, because that would have to work for all of them. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these things here. Okay, hopefully you're taking your notes in pencil. Now I'm going to give you a hint, and here's your hint. Look for the rate of change. Let me write it here. That's supposed to be change. Okay, and what I mean by that is, as we go up, okay, as I go up by 1s, which I know it's going down the table, but 0, 1, 2, that's increasing by 1s. What's happening over here? Well, from 12 to 11 is -1. From 11 to 10 is -1, and so on. From 10 to 9 is -1. And that -1, you'll notice, continues through the table. This -1, this rate of change thing, is going to show up in our equation. And I'm going to show you where. Okay? This -1 is going to be multiplied by x. Okay? So now, when I go to 0 here, -1 times 0, okay, would be 0. Now, what do I do to 0 to make 12? Well, I add 12. Okay? Now let's see if this works for the rest of them. Okay, I'm going to skip the 1. I'm going to go to 2 just because of my spaces here. -1 times 2 plus 12. does that get me 10? Well, negative 1 times 2 is negative 2 plus 12. Well, yep, that's 10. Okay, negative 1 times 4. Again, I'm going to just continue with the, this is a 4 plus 12. So negative 4 plus 12 is negative 4 plus 12, 8. Yes, it is. Negative 1 times 6. That's supposed to be a 6 plus 12. Well, this would be negative 6. Is negative 6 plus 12 6? Yes, it is. And negative 1 times 8 plus 12. Okay, so this is negative 8 when I do my multiplication. Negative 8 plus 12 is 4. Okay, so that works for it. And even if I do these ones in the middle, okay, I'll go to the side here. Negative 1 times our x value of 1 plus 12. Does that give me 11? Well, this would be negative 1 plus 12. Yep, that's 11. And so you'll notice it works. This formula works for all of them. So our equation is y equals negative 1x plus 12. Alright, so that is our equation looking for our rate of change. Alright, let's go ahead here. This is going up by 1s. And I'm going to go ahead and go right to the rate of change because it is going up by 1s. So, okay, what do we have? Well, 5 to 3 is a minus 2. 3 to 1 is a minus 2. 1 to negative 1 is a minus 2, and so on. So my rate of change in this case, actually, let me clean that up, is a negative 2. So in my equation, I already know I'm going to go negative 2 times x. Okay, so this value here is coming up into my equation. It will show up. The rate of change will show up, multiplied by x. So, okay, negative 2 times, I'm going to put my x in there, 1. Well, negative 2 times 1, that's negative 2. What do I do to negative 2 now to make 5? Well, I would add 7. So I'm going to test here and see if plus 7 works for the rest of these, okay? So now, negative 2 times my x value, which is a 2, plus 7, does that get us 3? Well, this is negative 4. Negative 4 plus 7, 7 minus 4 is 3. Negative 2 times 3 now, plus 7, does that equal 1? Well, negative 2 times 3, that's negative 6. Plus 7, yep, that's 1. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. Plus 7. Negative 8 plus 7 is negative 1. And negative 2 times 5 plus 7, well, this is negative 10. Negative 10 plus 7 is negative 3. So our equation, y equals negative 2x plus 7. Alright, so now let's go a little bit further. Use a graph to make a table and write an equation, which in this case, okay, so here's my line, and I'm going to identify a few points on the line, and I'm going to pull their ordered pairs out for the table. Okay, so I'm going to start over here. This point right here is negative 4, 0. So my x coordinate is a negative 4, my y coordinate is 0. This point right here is negative 3, 1. This point right here is negative 2, 2. Here we have negative 1, 3. And here we have 0, 4. Now if you look at this right now, our rate of change of our table is 1. Okay, going up by 1. So I automatically know my x value will be multiplied by 1. Okay? So now, negative 1, oh sorry, not negative 1, I looked at the negative 4. So 1 times negative 4, Well, that would be negative 4. What do I do to negative 4 to make 0? Well, I add 4. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. All right, let's check and see if that works for the rest of them. 1 times negative 3 plus 4. Well, 1 times negative 3 is negative 3 plus 4. Sorry, this is a negative 3. Very poorly written, negative 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. And that will work for the rest of the table. Okay, negative 2 plus 4. Well, that is a negative 2. Negative 2. I'm struggling with my writing of 2's and 3's. 4 minus 2 is 2. Negative 1 times negative 3 plus 4. Well, this would be, wait a second, this is a positive 1. So negative 3 plus, oh, sorry. I'm really messing this up. This would be a 1. My fault. Even teachers can make mistakes. So this would be negative 1 plus 4 is 3. And then 1 times 0 plus 4. Well, this would be 0 plus 4 is 4. So now we've taken a table or a graph. We've made a table. And then now there's our equation. All right, and there it is very likely that you will need help. Okay, come see me for help. All right, do not hesitate to come see me. But also, if you have other resources available to you, please go use them. Khan Academies, things like that. But good luck.